Are you guys ready for the fastest 10 minutes in comics? Welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher.
So let's jump right into it.
We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is good, YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and I want to thank you guys for joining me for another Hot 10 breakdown of the week. That's right, if you guys aren't familiar with what I do in this video, I take the 10 hottest comics according to the Key Collector app, and I break them down one by one, letting you guys out there in the community know if I'm a buyer here at these prices or if I'd be staying away or selling them if I have them in my collection. But before we get started, like always, guys, if you're not a current subscriber of the channel, do me a favor, go ahead, click that subscribe button for me. It will really help the channel out. And also check out this 4,000 sub giveaway. Let's get there ASAP. I told you guys from here on out, I'm going to be giving something out of my personal collection away every 1,000 subscribers from here on out. And we're just about almost at 4,000. I think we're about 600 and change away. Guess what, guys? This is the 4,000 sub giveaway. It is this awesome 1/10 scale Thanos diorama from Infinity War. I want to tell you, this thing is freaking awesome. It is nearly perfect for a Thanos statue. So do me a favor, go ahead, click that subscribe button for me, smash that like button, and let's give this sucker away as soon as possible. With that said, members of the channel, don't forget you get these videos early. So probably on Tuesday or at the latest Wednesday, you're going to get to check out the Hot 10 breakdown of the week. With that said, let's get into it. At number 10 on this week's list is a copy of All New Ghost Rider #1 and the first appearance of Robbie Reyes as the new Ghost Rider. And of course, this is his origin story as well. And a CGC 9.6 just sold last week for $169, up 34% over that 12-month rolling average. Now, you guys know out there, I talk about it all the time, I am not a huge modern collector, but I will say this, if you are a modern collector and you want to own these modern books, only buy them at 9.8. So unless you bought this book off the rack, and maybe it's not a 9.8, hey, you did a great job, hold on to this book, you never know where it's going to go. But for me, I'm not into them, so I'm not going to say, hey, go out and buy them. I just can't do it. It's a no-go for me, guys. At number 9 in this week's list is a copy of New Mutants 98, and of course the first appearance of our favorite mouth, Deadpool, in a CGC 9.8. Just sold last week all the way up to $1,740, up 3% over that average. Now, you know why this book is heating up. Ryan Reynolds says they're almost done with finalizing the script for Deadpool 3, and you know who he's bringing with him. That's right, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. You guys know I'm definitely a buyer of this book, but I do have a cap on the amount of money that I'm willing to pay. I think this book has a $2,000 cap at a 9.8, and I only want to own a 9.8 of this book. There were so many of these books out there that were printed back in the 90s, so for me, it's 9.8 or bust. And guess what? I actually have my copy for sale right now on MightyCollects.com. I have it on eBay for a little bit more, and of course, you got to pay tax on eBay. But for me, if you go on my site and you want to buy a 9.8, go ahead and jump on it because this book is only going up. At the 8th spot on this week's list is a copy of Fantastic Four #53 and the second appearance of the Black Panther. But not only that, this is the first appearance of Vibranium. So a double key for you guys. A CGC 8.5 just sold last week for $600, up 11% over the average. Now, when I do talk second appearances, you guys know I'm not spending a ton of money on them. And with Fantastic Four 52 coming all the way down to where it is right now, it has definitely taken a hit in the price point. I am not spending $600 on a high-grade copy of the second appearance of Black Panther. If I want to own a second appearance, I'm going to buy a lower grade just to have in the collection. I would rather take that $800 and buy the first appearance. You know that's how I collect, so this one is a no-go. At number 7 on this week's list is a copy of Star Wars #1 and the first appearance of our favorite Star Wars characters, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, C-3PO, and Princess Leia, in a CGC 9.2, just sold last week for $510, up 1% over that average. Now, I am a Star Wars fan. Although I am not a huge Star Wars fan, I enjoyed the first 3 movies way back in the early 80s. I know they were filmed in the 70s, but I didn't see them until the early 80s. Regardless, I'm not spending $500 on a 9.2 copy of this book. About 2 years ago, you could have had about the similar grade for around 100 and change. Now, all of a sudden, this is $500 something dollars. This movie was made almost 50 years ago, guys. All of a sudden, this book is heating up again. Again, you should own this book if you're a Star Wars fan. It is an adaptation from that Star Wars A New Hope movie. So with that said, guys, I want to own this book, but it doesn't have to be super high grade. It is a collector's item, absolutely, but I'm not spending that kind of amount of money on this book. At number 6 on this week's list is a monster key. It is a copy of Incredible Hulk number 181, and of course, the first appearance of our favorite Canadian, Wolverine, and a CGC 6.0. Just sold last week for $5,250, up 6% over the average. Now, this book is really taking a beating over the past year. I warned you guys about a year ago that this book was too hot. It couldn't sustain the prices that it was at, and now it's starting to come back down. But all of a sudden, it's starting to heat up again, and you only know why. It's because Hugh Jackman is coming back. Regardless, you have to own this book if you're a huge Wolverine fan. If you're a Marvel fan, I do think this book is definitely worth owning, but just be careful. You have to own this one for the long term. There's going to be a lot of spikes. There's going to be a lot of dips in this book over the next 20 to 30 years. And who knows what's going to happen after he does show up finally. Is it going to tank? Is it going to go up even further? There are a lot of copies out there of this one. It's a must-own book, but just be very careful in the one that you guys pick out to buy. At number 5 on this week's list is a copy of Avengers number 144 and the first appearance of Patsy Walker as Hellcat. And you guys know this book was on the list last week as well. And a CGC 7.5 just sold last week for $86, up 15% over that average. Now, I told you last week I wasn't a buyer, and I'm sticking to my guns to this one this week. However, under $100, you really can't be too picky. It is a key, a nice minor key. Again, if you're a Patsy Walker fan, a Hellcat fan, I think it's definitely worth owning because you want to own the book. For me, as an investment, I'm not a Patsy Walker fan, and therefore, I'm not buying this book. At number 4 on this week's list is What Else Makes It 5 weeks in a row. It is a copy of Omega Man number 3 and the first appearance of Lobo. And right now, there's a massive rumor out there in the community that Jason Momoa will drop the Aquaman role to take on the lead as Lobo in his own movie in the DC EU. And a CGC 9.8 just sold last week for $385, up 21% over the average. And I got to be honest with you guys, I'm really not a huge fan of what James Gunn is doing right now. I know he's canceled Wonder Woman 3. I know he's gone ahead and canceled some other various projects and greenlight a few others. That's fine, but you're taking a major role away from, I thought he did a pretty good job, Jason Momoa as Aquaman. That movie actually was very entertaining and one of the better DC movies. So if he's going to actually drop that role to take on Lobo, I think he'd make a great Lobo, but what the hell are you doing? You're leaving one role to go to another. Now are they going to reboot Aquaman? Are they even going to have an Aquaman in DC movies? I have no idea. Regardless, this book, I told you guys, anything over $350, $370, I'm staying away from this book. Now, it went up to $395 last week, down to $385 this week. Either way, it's still too much money to pay for the first appearance of Lobo. Too many copies out there. If you want to own a copy, add a 9.8, and only add a 9.8, $350, $360, max $370, and that is it. You guys know I'm not a buyer at this price. At number 3 on this list is one of my all-time favorite DC keys. It is a copy of House of Secrets number 92 and the first appearance of Swamp Thing. Not only that, this is a classic cover by the great Bernie Wrightson and a CGC 9.2 just sold last week for $9,000, up 6% since 2021. While I love this book and I want to own this book and I'm giving it a thumbs up to go out and buy it, this book really hasn't gone up much over the past couple of years. And that's part of the reason why I sold my copy a few years back. It's because all the Marvel books are really increasing in price, 20, 30, 50, 75% in some books, and this book barely went up in value. If you haven't checked out some of my undervalued books recently over the past year, make sure you check out those videos because this book is all over those lists. I love this book. I think it's a must own. Again, if you're going to own this book for the next 20 to 30 years, it does not matter. You're going to get an increase no matter what. But hey, if you're in the short game and you trade books, this one may not get a bump for quite a while. So make sure if you buy this book, you're in it for the long term. But yes, I want to own it. I love this book, love this cover. It's one of my favorite DC keys. At the 2 spot on this week's list, and back on the list, is a copy of Wizard Magazine #1 and this iconic cover by the Todd Father, and a CGC 8.0 just sold last week for $158, up 216% since 2019. I told you guys a couple of weeks back when this book was on the list, I love this book. I think it's a great book. Love the cover, love Todd, but I don't want to spend a ton of money to own this book. It's not an investment book. It's just a cool book I want in my collection. Everybody remember when this book came out, it was such a big deal. But again, if you want to spend a lot of money just because of way back when, it's not an investment book. I think it's a great copy to have in the personal collection if you can get it for cheap. And $150, it may be worth it just to have. But outside of that, I'm not throwing around big cash at this book. It's not worth it. It's not going to go up a tremendous amount over the next few years. And at the top spot and back on this list, one of my favorite undervalued keys right now. It is a copy of Iron Man #1 and the first appearance of Iron Man in his own solo title. But not only that, this is his origin story as well. And a CGC 8.0 just sold last week for $1,799, up 8% over that average. Again, it's finally nice to see this book getting some due, finally getting a push after all these years. You guys know this is another one of those books I said is undervalued right now. Again, if you go out and look for the Tales of Suspense 39, the first Iron Man, it is well over $7,000 to $8,000 in low grade. This one, again, under $2,000 for a super high grade 8.0, and you do not need to go out and get a high grade copy of this book. It's a Silver Age key 4.0. I think you can get for probably under $700 right now. It's a monster deal. Go out and grab this book. You guys always know it's a buy for me. But not only that, you guys saw the video from Tuesday. I am giving away a copy of this book, although it's a low grade copy, when we get to 5,000 subs. Of course, we have the 4,000 sub first we got to get to. But hey, let's get to 5,000 sooner or later so I can give that bad boy away. That's it for the list this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. A lot of great books on this list, some new books, which is always nice. It is now time for my best buy of the week, and I'm going to do it. I'm dropping it out there. The best buy of this week is none other than House of Secrets #92 and the first appearance of Swamp Thing. I said it all before. This book has been so undervalued for the better part of 20 years. I don't know what else to tell you guys. It's a Bronze Age key. I love this book, but it never seems to go up. But because it's an iconic cover, because it's a first appearance book, and I absolutely love the Swamp Thing, I think this book has to be bought, and it's my best buy of the week. Again, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.